So we're going to start off with the cloud shape. I'm going to be using some unusual colours. I've got some purple and some grey just to help it come up on camera, but you can use anything you want. I've actually seen something very similar with a grey cloud, so I'm going to start off with this is a crochet hook, and size 4 crochet hook, and I'm going to start off by chaining 35. I'm going to just do a small sample here. I've done 15, and then I'm going to do a half double crochet in the second chain from hook. And to do a half double crochet, it's yarn over, go into the stitch, draw up a loop, and then pull through all 3. And you're just going to do that all the way along for the first row. So your first row is very simple, it's just half double crochets all the way across. And then we're going to go into the next row. So we're going to chain 1 and turn, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets in the first stitch. So we've done an increase. And then we're going to do half double crochets all the way to the last stitch. And then in the last stitch, we're going to do 2 half double crochets. And then I'm going to do one more in that space. Now, a little tip at this point is it gets very difficult to find your very first stitch over here. So when you've made that first stitch, it's usually a good idea to put a stitch marker in so you can find it on your way back. So I'm going to show you what I mean by doing it at this end. This is when I would usually do it. I'm going to chain 1 and turn. And I'm going to do 1 stitch, I'm going to grab a stitch marker, and I'm going to pop it in that stitch. So there's that stitch. One, and then 2 in that stitch, and then you're just going to go all the way across. And having that stitch marker on that last stitch really helps you to be able to define that stitch. When you get there. See, I'd actually put it in the wrong place. So. And that's how the first few rows go. It's just increasing on either end to start off with. Then you get to a few rows of half double crochet all the way across. And I'm just going to pull in another sample. And I'm going to run into the next big change. And this next change is is here we've done our half double crochet increase around here, and then we come in here and we're not decreasing as in doing 2 stitches together, we're actually doing something a little bit different. I wanted a sharper edge on that point, so instead of doing 2 double crochets together, we're actually going to do some slip stitches. So we're going to go into the stitch, and I've chained 1 and turned. I'm going to go into the stitch, I'm going to bring up a loop and just pull it through. Go into the stitch, bring up a loop and pulling it through. We're not doing any yarn overs beforehand, it's a slip stitch. Into the loop, pull it through, and then we go into doing our half double crochets again. So we're just going to do some half double crochets across. You're going to crochet up to the point that it tells you to in the pattern, and then you're just going to stop, leaving however many stitches. In this case I've left 4 unworked. I'm then going to chain 1 and turn, and then carry on, and you do that for the number of rows it tells you to, and then you end up having to do it a second time. So we do this slip stitch here, and then not the last few stitches here, and then slip stitch here, not the last few stitches here, and then these final ones are a couple of slip stitches and then 2 togethers at the top. I'll show you how to do 2 togethers just in case you need to know. So the other stitch you need to know in this pattern is half double crochet 2 together. So half double crochet 2 together, I do it this way: I yarn over, go into a stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull up a stitch, go into a stitch and pull up a loop, and then draw through all of them. It is quite a chunky stitch. I have also done it this way before, which is to yarn over, into a stitch, bring up a loop, go straight into the next stitch and pull up a loop, and then pull them through. This stitch is not as chunky as this stitch. It really just depends on how you feel. I tend to do the first one because I feel like it flows easier in the hand as you're doing it. So then you do a couple of half double crochets 2 together, and then you finish off with some half double crochets, and that's that done. You then have to do 2. So you make the first one, and then you make the second one. And in the next video we will talk about the rainbow drops.